Kevin Federline, what's good?
What up, man? What up?
Welcome to VladTV.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Definitely.
So where'd you grow up exactly?
I grew up in Fresno, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you ended up actually dropping out of high school.
I did. I went and took my GED.
Later on.
Later on, yeah.
But you dropped out in the ninth grade?
Ninth grade.
That's freshman year.
I went from ninth grade, I started doing homeschool, and then, I mean, it just wasn't really, I don't know, I wasn't interested. There wasn't, the teachers at that time for me weren't keeping me interested in school. You know, my mind was in other places.
Okay. So you dropped out, and then what, you started homeschooling?
Yeah, I started going to homeschooling, and it was like this homeschooling where you had to show up 1 week. It's like a continuation school type thing.
Okay.
So I did that for a little while, and then I even stopped doing that.
Just weren't feeling the whole school
Wasn't
thing.
feeling it.
Okay. So after you left school, what did you start doing?
I started dancing, like, I mean, I danced a little bit, like hip-hop dancing from the time I was like 13 to 15. And then...
So hip-hop dance, break dancing?
Break dancing, you know, all kind of everything.
Yeah.
And then, you know, at that time, you know, it was the 90s, so it was definitely like the routine stuff started coming in where, you're mostly on your feet. You're not doing all the tricks. And I mean, I'll do a little bit here and there, but I tried to get into the breaking thing, but it was such a tough gig. You know, you got to be a gymnast pretty much to do that stuff. So
yeah, like I actually used to break, junior high.
Right.
Once high school came around, I'm like, I can't hang with this. Like I couldn't windmill and all of a sudden.
Yeah, see, I couldn't really. I didn't go that route either because I was more into like the popping aspect of it and staying on your feet. So I really, there's a few guys that I would get with and I kind of fell out of that for a while. And then that's when I like dropped out of high school, hanging out with the wrong crowd, up to no good, that type of stuff. Okay. And then this kid, his name is Jimmy Federico, is actually my best friend now. He stuck with it, and I saw him later on when I was like 19, and he was good. I mean, he literally like amazed me, and he was talking about coming down to LA and that he got an agent and this and that. I'm like, damn, you can make money at this. So I got back with him, and we went to this nonprofit organization called Dance Empowerment. They were like bringing kids off the street and teaching them how to dance, and the guy that ran it was a good friend of mine that I was dancing with when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So we all kind of fed off each other and were helping each other out and dancing with the kids and stuff like that. And then one day he just was like, look, let's go to LA right now, quit your job. I'll give you $1,000. He conned, and for some reason, that's like enticing me to come. And I wanted to come, so it was like follow your dream type of thing. It's like jump off a cliff and see if you could float to the other side.
What was your job at the time?
I was delivering pizzas at the time.
It wasn't a tough job to leave.
It wasn't a tough job to leave. Yeah, man. I mean, I went through like car wash, fast food, pizza, detailing RVs. I mean, just horrible, laboring jobs, especially out there in Fresno. I don't know if anybody knows, but it gets up in the 115 degree range in the summertime. Yeah. So you're out there working on cars, just not fun.
Okay, yeah, and Fresno's located between LA and the Bay.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like you don't have the industry that either of those areas have. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it is. Fresno is definitely, I want to say there's a lot more Bay Area influences in Fresno than there is like Southern California.
Yeah.
So I grew up with like the Drew Downs and E40 and the Click and D-Shot and all that stuff from the Bay Area. I mean, I listened to everything, from Two Live Crew to Kool Moe Dee when I was a kid. I think my first like vinyl record was a Gucci Crew, like way.
I remember those dudes. Yeah,
ages ago now, man.
So you and your friends, your two friends, he gives you $1,000 and says, "Let's move to LA and become dancers."
Yeah, well, he had already had an agent, and he came out here and booked Christina Aguilera's verse video, dancing, doing Genie in a Bottle. And so I was like, all right. And I saw like he was making pretty good money compared to what you're making in Fresno working at a pizza place, you know?
Right.
So I did it. I came out here, moved to LA, like on a whim. I mean, I gave my 2 weeks notice, you know, was like, stuck it out for about 4 or 5 days. And I'm like, all right, I gotta go, you know, this isn't for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, it was like that. It was a turning point in my life because I felt like when I came out here, I was only out here for about, once I decided to actually make the move, I was only here for 4 or 5 days and I was on tour. Like
Really?
I booked a tour with LFO, the Abercrombie and Fitch dudes.
Right, the light, funky ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. They had a song with MOP that made no sense whatsoever.
Oh man,
I remember I interviewed
those
Billy.
guys. They were interesting, man. They were an interesting group of guys. It was definitely like the perfect fit for me for my first like American tour, you know, because I'd never been really anywhere outside of California other than like Nevada. I lived in Carson City when I was a kid, and I've been up to Oregon because my mom and my parents split when I was young, so my mom lived up in Oregon, so I've been up to Oregon a few times, but mostly all the west side of everything. So once I got to LA and I got to go on this tour, it was just like an eye-opener. And then going around the world is an even bigger eye-opener, you know. But so having come here and do that, it's that moment of where you like, okay, I put everything, all of my energy into this. I love it. It was my passion, you know, it was my drive. It was everything. If anything was wrong at any time, I could go into a dance studio and I could start freestyling and I forget about everything. It was my release. So now I'm making money for that.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, the money coming for that, I was just like, all right. And I started getting better. I learned everybody's styles and I was going to auditions and I started booking stuff without having an audition. And you know, get to this point where you're working with like Pink and seeing Justin, Genuine, Usher, Destiny's Child, Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Okay, so you end up dancing background from Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Who, there's been a lot of great dancers over the years, like Fred Astaire and, you know, other dudes like that. Michael's definitely considered one of the greats, if not the greatest.
Oh yeah,
dancing.
By far, I think he's by far the greatest performer. Period. Like, not just dance. It's few people that I've seen on stage in my life like can walk up and say nothing and stare down a crowd of 100,000 people and everybody feel them. Like that presence is like so strong. You know, it's on some whole other level shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that moment for me that was it. That was like the big moment of my dance career.
Michael
And the
Jackson.
guys that worked with that worked with Michael at the time that hired me, Rich Minatoni and Fly, and Michael Rooney, Mickey Rooney's son. There was 4 choreographers on that gig, and all I did was video. You know, because he wasn't really doing a tour or anything at that time. It was like in between, he was dropping that Rock My World with Chris Tucker in the video, Marlon Brando. I got to meet Marlon Brando too. That was epic, like for me. But these guys, man, they're like really, really good. And they've been working with Michael since they were like 15, 16 years old. These 2 Samoan kids, brothers, they're like some of the dopest to ever do it.
So you were in Michael Jackson's, which video?
Rock My World.
Right. And you were a backup dancer in the video.
Yes.
Did you interact with Michael at all?
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting, you know, like the type of character that he was, like a kid around on stage, you know, and on the set. We sat out at that Universal Studios lot for like 2 weeks trying to get one video done, you know, and back then they were turning videos around in 2 days. So, I mean, you can imagine the production of what it was, you know, and then to see like his interaction with him and Marlon Brando, they're driving around on a golf cart and like acting like they're gonna run people over. And then there's other times where we were on set and we were getting ready to dance, you know, Michael has like some squirt gun or something and he's like hiding behind stuff and people like you didn't know it was him and people are like trying to act out their scenes and he's squirting them in the face with water and stuff. It was, you know, everybody was just having a good time. But when it came down to like business, dude, it was crazy. I remember the first time, like, we sat there and rehearsed for about a week, and then before he even came in the room, you knew he was there. You know, it was like that type of presence was just nuts. And everybody, you could hear a pin dropped in that room before he walked in. And then everybody came in, everybody met him, shook his hand. He's like, all right, let me see it. You know, hiding behind his shades, no music, click track. I'm just like, dude, come on. How hard can it get, you know? You're just like nervous as shit. Probably one of the most nerve-wracking things in my life.
Yeah.
And I was one that like messed up the first time too. And he wasn't even looking at us, like he was looking at the ground. And he heard me mess up and he looked up and looked at me like, you better get it together, kid, you know? It's crazy.
Okay, so but you also danced for Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
How was that?
Destiny's Child? I had a lot of fun. I did Survivor, I did the Grammys, Soul Train Awards, I did, you know, a few like award shows and stuff whenever they were in LA. And they were cool, man. I mean, at the time, they were young too, everybody, you know, it's like early 20s, maybe they weren't even in their 20s yet, you know, some of them might have been, others were still in their teens. They were really cool, like they were all having fun. It was like at the height of their moment, you know, as Destiny's Child, the group. So I want to say like every job that I did, almost every job that I did was just incredible. You know, you get these preconceived notions about Hollywood before you come here, and LA in general, you know, around the world, like people look at it different ways, you know. So to come out here and be a part of what goes on behind the scenes and what it takes to make an artist and what it takes to make good music and meeting all these people and everybody, you're on the same line of passion with these people, so you already have a connection. So it's, I mean, for the most part, it was all love.
Yeah. How did you end up hooking up with Justin Timberlake?
So one of my best friends, Marty Kudelka, he's a big choreographer. I mean, he's one of the best too. We were on Pink's tour together. It was me, him, and a guy named Eddie Morales. And Eddie had hired me and then hired Marty. And we all hit it off, you know, all of us meet between him and then my best friend that I moved out here with from Fresno. Us four were just, it was like our wolf pack, you know. And Marty was hiring me for jobs here and there. Marty started choreographing for Pink while we were on the road. And like, I learned Marty's style pretty well, you know, I had it down really good. And I mean, I was really good at that time, you know, I was booking jobs right and left with everybody. So Marty booked NSYNC, like the last leg of NSYNC's tour before they split up. And we wound up doing Girlfriend for the Grammys with Nelly. And then after that, Justin went solo. So Marty was already on and I was already dancing, you know, with him before. So he brought me in for Justin's, I want to say it was his first single, might have been his second one. Okay. But I did the video for that, and then I did MTV Music Awards in New York. And then after that, you know, at that time I was like terrified to fly all the time, you know, so going on tour wasn't too much of an option for me unless I was sitting on a bus. Right. I don't know why the anxiety came out of nowhere. Taking a plane like over 150 times a year, you know, kind of like it wears on you. Sure. So I just needed a break. Okay. You became friends with Justin? Yeah, we were cool. Like, all of us hang out, you know, here and there. It wasn't all the time. It's not like him and I were like talking to each other every day or things like that. We were friends though, you know. Sure.
I'm a fan of Drake. I'm a fan of the idea of Drake. So no disrespect against Drake.
What do you mean by the idea of Drake? What does that mean?
Meaning that if he has a ghostwriter, he's an idea. He's not meaning that it's a perception created that he's not really writing the lyrics, and it's just like here, let's make this in the factory and put it out.
I'm just on top of my game right now, Vlad, and I'm just getting blessed. I'm booked 4 or 5 times a week, 60, 75K a show, man. I'm winning right now, man, and I'm just steady trying to increase my hustle.